and the Mongoose Man, Grant Malcolm McIlrath, and there was a technical glitch in the last narration live upstream. So we're going to try that again. Welcome to the stream, everybody. I would love to know where you are from. We're going to try that again. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Yes, all right. Everything is working on this side. I see the volume is good. All right, here we go. So, starting off with the welcomes to all our herpetologists and snake friends out there. The purpose of this video is to re-show one of our most popular conservation through education videos of all time. Over 57,000 views and many, many likes and many questions. And I would like to tell you more about this. So let's have a look. I'm going to be stopping the video and I will take questions. If you put in any comments, I can read them out and answer you as we go along. So this is the puff adder, the pof adder, snake slung, and it is a cytotoxic venom snake, as you can see by the title here. And most people never even get to see them. And most people are very, very afraid and have an unfortunate fear of snakes, because snakes are not out there hunting us unless you're in a few places like South America with the anaconda, or perhaps you've had an encounter with a python. Yes. So other than that, snakes are not out there to harm us, and they're certainly not hunting us. So they have a terrible reputation, which is completely unjustifiable. And I would like to tell you about the nature's classroom. So the first point, as a professional nature conservationist since 1993, I have come across hundreds and hundreds of snakes with all the different venom types, including the yellow-bellied sea snake, incidentally. And I have never had any nasty experiences, not even one, with the snakes. In fact, I would have all of those experiences again if I could. And not one time did the snake ever try to attack me. Yeah, that does not mean to be complacent. It is the complete opposite. I am telling people who are listening, who don't know about snakes, simply leave them alone and avoid trying to pick them up. It may sound very foolish to say this, and it may be very obvious to most viewers, except many people unfortunately get bitten because they end up picking up the snake. And then the snake will, of course, defend itself. Let's have a look at this beautiful puff adder as it moves very supposedly sluggishly down towards the water source. This is filmed here in the Meerkat Magic Valley Reserve of the Meerkat Magic Conservation Project. And this is the riverine ecology of the reserve. Welcome, snake friends and conservation friends out there. Please stick around and ask your questions if you'd like to know more about the snake species and about conservation through education. That's what I am here for. I am going to be answering questions as we examine this snake yet again. Unlike the Nudgeniviae, the Cape Cobra, which actually hunts the puff adder, Bitis Arietans, the puff adder is an ambush predator and will often just lie in wait for its food. It can strike within a 30th of a second. I'm going to pause here. Because many people are extremely surprised, as I was, when I watched this usually sluggish snake. It barely even moves. It's Jacobson's organ, smelling the air, and then it will strike, as I mentioned, within a 30th of a second, and it will be a blur. I have seen meerkats come across these snakes and various mongoose species, and the snake will almost always warn any potential predator and then try and leave the area. Yeah, once it's caught out in the open, it will lose the element of surprise and it will try and move away again. So the best thing to do if you encounter one of these snakes is in fact to leave them alone, because they generally will move into an area and they're very territorial in my experience. I've seen some that I've followed for many years in the area of the reserve, and they are always busy hunting rodents especially, and meerkats and other smaller mammals, because these are the most dangerous of all the predators when it comes to meerkats and various mongoose species, because the snake can go inside the wildlife hotels or burrows. On we go. Please watch how rapidly the snake can actually swim when it goes through the water, even though it seemed absolutely sluggish. Look at that. And this is an area of the river where I have swum on many, many occasions, mere meters away from where the snake clearly has crossed over many times before. They are creatures of habit, they are territorial, and in fact, I was extremely surprised when I came across this particular species in a flooded river system such as the reserve. Please notice only a few meters away, and it seems to have completely vanished from sight, which is exactly why it has that disruptive crypsis, those camouflage patterns on its body. And under the shade, it fits beautifully into that mottled lighting where it's very, very difficult to even see it. Of course, and I'm going to pause here again, this is no defense when it comes to species that are hunting it by smell, such as the yellow mongoose, Synictis piscinicillata, which will hunt the snake often. Even though meerkats can kill snakes, and this is a lesson from nature I like to mention many times over, they do not go around killing and eating venomous snakes in the wild almost always. One of the primary reasons for this is they have no carnassial or cutting teeth. The meerkat does not have the premolaris on the upper and lower jaw like the yellow mongoose Synictis piscinicillata has. So they've got 4 teeth less, specifically the cutting or carnassial teeth. So if they're trying to eat a snake which is far too tough and far too long an item for them to digest easily, it will take much too much time, and it is just much too big for them. They will end up becoming prey themselves. And that's why I call them the hunted hunters. So when a snake encounters a meerkat at a burrow, the meerkat will spend a long time trying to chase the snake away from the burrow. Welcome everyone if you're just joining this narration live stream. I am busy answering questions. Please do drop a comment, a like, and a sub if you'd like to know more about the snakes that inhabit the reserve that I have been protecting since 2008, the Meerkat Magic Valley Reserve. This snake was in the riverine section of the reserve, and I'm going to rewind this bit of the video because it's so incredible just to see how the snake can vanish within an instant of crossing this river system. Let's go back even further. The purpose of this video analysis is in fact to look at this very slowly, frame by frame. I've also put this in slow motion on other videos. Conservation through education. We are all about reptile research in this area, and look at that. Unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, you can go check out the slow motion streams I've also got out there on the snake species. It's a beautiful species. Again, cytotoxins are necrotic. They can cause terrible wounds, and the best is to stay away from these snakes whenever possible, of course, but they do give a warning hiss. I wonder if any of you have heard it out there. A loud forcing of air out of the lungs, almost like that of the leopard tortoise, Geochelone pardalis. That was one of the previous scientific names, although it's been modified since then. When I say since then, since 93, they're changing all the scientific names based on genetic reshuffling, and this is very unfortunate in taxonomy. As a research biologist, we were told as technicians that we would learn this name and it would be one scientific name per species around the world, and that has turned out to be false. Now, there are many different scientific names for one species, unfortunately, but you can still find out what they are on Google. All right, again, just zooming out. Look at that. Within moments, that snake has vanished into the vegetation, and I have warned many people who used to swim in the river like myself just to be on the lookout if they are there, because of course the snakes have right of way in the reserve, as do all the other wildlife. Going right back to the start here for those who are just joining the stream, or for those who would like to see this again. I still find it incredible when I look at this species. Look how slowly it's moving along. And yet it can strike within a 30th of a second. Meerkats will mob it and then leave it alone if it is away from a burrow. If it is at a burrow, they will leave the burrow. Again, a lesson from nature. And I kid you not when I tell you this. Even though it is the most dangerous of the predators to the meerkat, and meerkats can kill them, even though they won't end up eating them, they don't go around just killing snakes. Of course, Synictis penicillata will hunt them actively and control the populations. These snakes are absolutely critical for controlling rodent populations. The bubonic plague, Black Death, was one of the worst plagues to ever hit the planet. And if it wasn't for all of the predators being destroyed over such a long time by humans and urban development, the rodents would never have become an issue at all. So the best thing to do is to leave them in their environment. Anybody out there, please drop a comment. If you love snakes, I would like to hear from you. And if you are scared of them, please also let me know so we can re-educate you about why you shouldn't need to be afraid of them at all. All right, I'm going to pause there. Just one more point about that. Snakes are our friends. They are not our enemies. They will generally move away from people. Thank you so much. I see here's a comment from Linda Collins 9579. Oh, you fell for my trap. Thank you, Linda. Yes, hating snakes. May I ask you, Linda, have you ever been bitten by a snake? Do you know anybody who has been bitten by a snake? Do you know anybody who has had any serious encounter with a snake? Or is it just a fear that you have had since you were very young, or did it start at a certain age? I'm constantly doing research about this, and it's by no means to shoot you down. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. However, many people kill snakes on sight, even when the snake has done nothing to them. And in fact, the snake is simply, as I like to say, trying to make a living like everybody else. However, I do appreciate your comment. Yes, I got bitten. Ah, all right. Do you know which species actually bit them? Because this is another aspect I'm curious about. Because many snakes will not inject venom or only a small amount of venom on a bite. That is another aspect about them, because they control their venom for mainly the food that they eat. Of course, venom takes time to produce. So many times a snake will not inject venom, or it's recently eaten, so it doesn't have a lot of venom left. But yeah, all right. Of course, that makes sense psychologically as well by an adder in England. Oh, that is... and in England, that is even more surprising, of course, because of the low incidence of snakes. But I'm sorry to hear about that. And I do hope that your friend made a full recovery. I would assume in England, the answer to that would be yes, because, of course, in Africa, it is a different situation if people do get bitten by snakes. But I do appreciate your comment right there. Of course, snakes are a highly controversial topic, and they always have been right throughout human history, as far as we know. And this is also why I have put them on my channel and given them a special place. Because many of the snakes that I've encountered have never tried any aggression towards me at all. And of course, when we're watching meerkats, one of the world's favorite species, and I'm sure many people on the channel love the meerkats and mongooses, often come across snakes. And yet the meerkat will not even attack and kill a snake in the wild, which I find fascinating. All right, any other comments out there? Please, let's get the discussion going before I replay part of this video. And I do appreciate your comments, I really do. And everybody is, of course, entitled to their opinion. This is all about conservation through education. That's what my channel is about, getting the information from the scientific publications out into the public where it can be discussed and hopefully benefit people and nature. Yes, I wish I could overcome that. Of course, it is very difficult if people have a negative association with anything in life to overcome it. However, I can tell you that one of the best things to do when you come across any animal in nature is just understand not to become complacent. I have been working as a professional nature conservationist. Many people know this already on my channel. Since 1993, I have encountered many potentially deadly animals, including big cats, rhinoceros, elephant, buffalo, and others. I could have been killed many times over, and I have been fortunate. I've also been attacked on 2 occasions and nearly killed by ostriches, Struthiocamelus, but that's another story entirely, both of which were because I was out with meerkats at the time when I was attacked, and these animals were being territorial. However, they were not wild ostriches, but I'm going off on a tangent, so I'll stop there. So I have also been injected by scorpion venom, which is neurotoxic, the same as the Cape Cobra, Nugeniviae, and it is potentially deadly, and I managed to survive that very fortunately for me again. However, my point about overcoming fear is, and I also have had many close shaves, and I will tell you this, I have been terrified when I first was to go out and walk with meerkats in the Kalahari Desert, the Kalahari National Park, to the northwestern side of South Africa. I like to give people an example. Hello out there, we're having a discussion with regards to snakes and conservation through education and potentially deadly animals and how to avoid those hazards potentially as well. All right, in the Kalahari Desert, I was walking with meerkats on a daily basis, and many times I would see big cats like lion in the distance, and I knew that I would not be able to escape if that lion decided to attack me. Fortunately for me, I'm still here, but overcoming fear is not easy. And what I found is many people start to become complacent. So they get to a point where they ignore that fear. And that is unfortunately when accidents can and often do happen. For example, many people will in fact try and pick up a snake out of curiosity. And even when they are bitten, a friend of mine in my nature conservation course was bitten by a night adder, lost the tip of his finger, not because of the bite from the first bite, but he went to pick it up again for some bizarre reason. Perhaps he wanted to take it as a sample to show the people what it was. But the fact is, he lost the tip of his finger from that. And if he had just left the snake alone in the first place, it wouldn't have bitten him, and then he wouldn't have got bitten a second time. My point is, often snakes get the blame for just going about and eating the rodents and many of the other creatures that they control. They are really beneficial in nature. And if you do encounter a snake around your house or in an area where there's a lot of human traffic or animal traffic, you can in fact often get somebody out there who's an expert on snakes to come and remove it for you, and they will find it a nice quiet place away from any potential disturbances to the snake or to humans or other animals. All right, just looking at this beautiful snake again as it goes across the river. Welcome everybody out there. Please do drop a like and a share and a sub if you're interested to find out more. Today was a very overcast day in the Meerkat Magic Valley Reserve, and although our world famous film star Mongoose came to visit, who many people know on the channel, Gakulu Kuchulina Chenorentola, it was far too cold and windy for a good live stream. So I'm just giving you a little bit of bonus content as I discuss one of our videos. This video actually got over 57,000 views, the one that you're watching me narrate right now. I will also be playing one of the Cape Cobra videos, which got 1.2 million views in under 24 hours. So what I like to explain, and I'd like to come back to you on this, Linda Collins, if you're still in the stream. The children that live around the reserve encounter snakes very often, and they in fact used to kill the snakes without a hesitation. However, this snake actually generated an income through our Google system, because we are affiliates with Google, thanks to the Cape Cobra snake putting us as a viral video on the map. And ever since then, I'm going to give you two examples, if you could bear with me on this, out there for conservation through education. How do you get somebody who was killing a snake or a river crab, for example, as a conservationist? This is a challenge that I've in fact faced and do face, to overcome their fear of that snake or that crab so that they don't kill it. I'll give you the example of the crab first. Many of the children that used to swim in this river system, when it was full of crabs, were afraid of the crabs, and they were even killing the crabs. Then I found out that this was happening, and I put a stop to it, and I said, look, you are killing the bush municipality. They are eating the algae, the slime in the river system, and by killing them, all you're doing is increasing that river slime. So I look at direct impact on the human involved. And one of the ways I could relate this to them is telling them about something that they found unpleasant, the slime. And I explained to them the crab was not attacking them or coming to pinch them or try and bite them as they thought it was, or had any potential threat to them at all. They were, in fact, the threat to the crab. And when I've made videos about the crabs on my channel have, in fact, generated an income through Google, all the way from America to South Africa in the reserve. And I've used that income to buy food, which I have then given to these children. And we have had a barbecue and various food times after their gym, etc., because we have a Stone Dojo martial arts gym. You may know about this. Anyway, it's a whole integrated grassroots approach to conservation here. The fact is, for our podcast listeners as well, and welcome, many of the children that used to kill the crabs now understand that if they kill the crabs, they are not going to benefit either from the income that is being generated from ad revenue. And this is what we like to say in nature conservation, and it's true: when it pays, it stays. The Cape Cobra generated many thousands of South Africans' rands worth of currency. It's a lot, even in euros and US dollars. And that income was plowed right back into the local reserve community to get them to understand. And what I tried to explain to them is, if you have a better appreciation and understanding, and possibly an interest and a self-motivated conservation, you may find that there are benefits from the animals that you maybe previously thought didn't have a purpose or were of no benefit to you at all, or the area around you, or in fact were a hazard, etc. Now, many people have destroyed a great deal of wildlife habitat in our world, as I'm sure you all know. And even though I'm a professional nature conservation, you can see this beautiful reserve riverine area, and it's protected here on the reserve, and so are the snakes and everything else that live here. However, it's everybody's responsibility. And as I like to say, and people have heard me say this many times, we're all on the same rock. We're all genetic time travelers traveling around the sun. Even the little ant and the cockroach or anything else people might dislike, and of course the snakes too. So again, please don't get complacent. Rather avoid a snake completely. If you are not sure, never try and pick up a snake or restrain it or corner it or threaten it in any way. This way, the chances are you will have a very safe and memorable encounter. And in fact, this was one of my favorite encounters I've ever had in decades of a nature conservation life, because I saw a snake crossing a river system where I'd been swimming for many, many years, in fact, since 2008. I'll just put this on a little loop, rewind there for those who haven't seen the start. And you can just see this beautiful, beautiful snake with its incredibly pretty markings. Many people don't get to see animals for more than a few moments at a time, and then they don't fully get to appreciate or understand them either. And so it can lead to a fear, or again, just the unknown. Like, what is that? What is it going to do? Once you become aware, as I was in this situation, that the snake was not going to attack me, it was simply going about its day, I was completely relaxed. But that does not mean at any stage I was complacent and being, oh no, I'm not worried, I'm not scared of the snake. I'm not afraid of wildlife, but I do respect wildlife, understanding the fact that there are many much more hazardous animals out there that could potentially harm a human, but that doesn't mean they are going to do it, including lion and the larger animals out there like elephant and rhinoceros, etc. And that is why I specialize in animal behavior. Most people know me as the Meerkat Man or Mongoose Man because they see a lot of my videos on these animals, but in fact, nature conservationist is all about the entire environment, and it's about protecting it for everybody. So the children learned about the crabs. Now they leave the crabs alone. They've benefited already from the crabs. And I can tell you a most beautiful story which only happened years later. And in fact, last year in 2025, I was super proud of the children when they came running up to me and told me, Grant, we've seen a snake. And instead of them instantly killing the snake, as they had done in the past many, many times over, in fact, for most of their lives, and many of these children were like 16 and 17, 11, 12, 13, and I've watched many grow up. again, since I've been in the reserve since 2008. Well, they came up to me and I did a video on this puff adder, and you can in fact see it under the conservation through education section about reptile conservation, one of my playlists, where they're actually standing there around the snake within a few meters of it, so it's got place to move, we're not threatening it, etc., where we weren't. And they were completely relaxed but aware of this beautiful, beautiful creature, and they were learning right there about nature conservation and about not killing a snake. Now, they live around these snakes. They're around them every single day and night. But they have a new respect for the snake, and again, when it pays, it stays. The snake has actually generated an income directly from them, and it's something tangible, and that helped to get rid of the fear as well. All right. I'm glad to hear that your friend recovered. I wish I could overcome my fear. I love that you have been with wild animals. Thank you so very much for your comment there, Linda Collins. If I didn't comment in time, I hope you still hear this. And thank you everybody for your likes and subs. I do appreciate it on this live narration of a very important species that occurs in the reserve. Is it true there is an island with only snakes on it, so it's forbidden? That's an interesting question. I do not know of such an island personally, and almost certainly many of these fears that people have are based on superstition and often are unjustifiable. I can tell you this as a nature conservationist or as a mythbuster, having encountered many species, and I'll tell you the story of the meerkats right now. In the Kalahari Desert, many people in the past used to shoot at meerkats for target practice. And after many years of having worked with the local inhabitants of these areas, I won't mention the location exactly, the people, instead of killing the animals, were in fact telling everybody in the area, leave these animals alone, and how they had learned to appreciate them. And again, it just comes through understanding often when people see that the animals out there are not in fact after us. Many people have become so far removed from nature that they have forgotten that we are part of it, but as long as we respect it and we are aware, we can often be around many animals that many people are afraid of and have phobias of. So many of these superstitious stories and other fears, which are, again, almost always unjustifiable, they come through ignorance and fear of the unknown. And once something is known, it can be understood and even appreciated greatly. For example, think about all the incredible animals that are on our planet, whether you like them or not, whatever species they are. And then think of Mars and how at the moment we don't know of anything else living there. And yet, people will often not even hesitate to kill an ant or a fly or a cockroach or anything around them. Again, fellow travelers on Earth, as I like to say. And yet, think how incredibly fantastical it is to even have one of these species, no matter what it is. And we share this environment with them, and we are all just traveling through time, genetically. And that's a fact, whether you want to believe it or not. We've all got DNA, and it's passed on from one generation to the next, the same as all the other species around us. So I just like to say, next time you come across a snake, please do not simply go out and attack it. Please have a look at it. Keep a respectful distance. Please do not try and pick it up. Please try and identify it. And please don't just go around killing animals if they are doing nothing at all to you except trying to make a living. I ask this as a professional nature conservationist, and I have myself been stung and was almost killed by a Parabuthus granulatus, a thick-tailed granulated scorpion which has neurotoxic venom. I mentioned that earlier in the stream, and although this is a snake video narration, I want to tell you more about this because it has caused permanent nerve damage for me and also created a lot of organ issues. However, even when I was stung by the scorpion, I did not kill the scorpion because I realized very well, and I told everybody in the Kalahari when this happened to me, I was at fault. I was in the scorpion's territory. It stung me. It was being defensive. It was on me. That was my fault. I didn't simply kill the scorpion. And ever since then, every scorpion I have found, I have not gone and killed. out of what some people would say revenge or fear of the scorpion, even though I myself was absolutely paralyzed. And it's a terrible feeling. If anybody out there has ever been paralyzed, where you cannot even move, when I say paralyzed, it's like having pins and needles all around the body, like that tingling sensation if you've bumped your elbow on the Anconius process, that nerve ganglia. Some people call it the funny bone. It's certainly not funny. Anyway, the fact is, it felt like that even in my hair follicles on my head, everything was tingling. And when I had a drink of water within 30 minutes of being stung, it felt like I was drinking a fizzy drink. And yet meerkats eat these scorpions on an almost daily basis. And I do say that scorpions are like meerkats' dessert. However, when I come across the scorpions, I have learned the hard lesson, and I was very fortunate to survive. I was basically like jelly for a few days in intensive care. And when I could walk around again, I can promise you now, I have never become complacent or taken anything like that for granted again, because such a small creature can be extremely, extremely deadly. But again, it's just trying to make a living, as I like to say. Going back to an earlier section of the stream. Please do keep asking any questions you have. Now's your chance. I'll be finishing the stream off. Today has been a bit of an experiment. I've been learning about new stream technology. I've been having a lot of fun because for conservation through education, it is wonderful. And of course, I would love for all the different schools out there to go onto the videos and ask questions. I used to do a lot of traveling. I've been to England many times. And of course, I did work with Cambridge University, large animal research group in Britain, done many scientific publications. Unfortunately, I've found that many people who are not scientists do not generally read them. And that is why, as a professional nature conservationist first, and a wildlife research biologist second, I like to get the information out there. I've taken thousands of people around the world out with me on visits. But now I prefer to do streams where I can reach a greater audience and simply share that information. It's what I like to call open source research. If you don't ask any questions now, but you'd like to comment, remember there are over 1,400 videos. You can go and comment on any of them at a later stage, and I'd be very happy to come across your comments and answer them for you. And please do like, subscribe, and share with anyone you think may learn about this beautiful creature, the puff adder, Bitis Arietans, our incredible snake heritage. Thank you all for listening and for watching. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day and week ahead. Please do turn bell notifications on if you would like to see the next live stream, which could be at any time, day or night, even with night vision equipment. But most likely it will be on a yellow mongoose or meerkats the next time the weather is good enough for a live stream. It could be tomorrow. I will be then sending that out, and anybody who is with me will be amongst the few people out of billions who will be watching a wild yellow mongoose up close or meerkats up close. And they are famous, as you probably know if you've been watching my work since '93. I hope to see you there. Please, again, drop a comment, even if it's post, and I will get back to you. All the very best. I'm signing off.